Gambling, while an entertaining pastime, becomes problematic in a subset of gamblers. In fact, it costs the US government $16 million per day for problem gambling. Also, it can lead to increased risk of mental illness, financial ruin, and suicide. And while there's been a lot of research done on gambling, there's been an area of research that's been neglected. That is food and drink during gambling situations. And that's why we wanted to look at how does consumption affect gambling persistence and its potential relation to problem gambling. Initially, we found out participants, when given access to food and drink in a simulated gambling task, stayed longer. They also said it made gambling more enjoyable. And while these results alone are interesting, what's important is we really wanted to know the underlying processes that may have been involved in these results. So we turned to the basic experimental literature to guide us. This is just the schedule-induced behavior. Schedule-induced behavior is a phenomenon where consumption of one resource is increased based on an intermittent delivery of another resource. And this might have been an adaptive evolutionary process which helped organisms persist in a particular context or location when resources are otherwise scarce because it would pay off in the long term to stay. This loosely mimics a gambling situation where wins are few and far between. However, evolution didn't account for slot machines. In our research, we looked at eating, drinking, and grooming. Grooming can be considered a measure of general restlessness or like fidgeting, behaviors associated with leaving. We, in our sessions, manipulated if and when wins occurred because we wanted to see how consumption would change as a result of these manipulations. Well, we found that at the beginning of sessions, participants would be consuming. And when they were consuming, they weren't moving. They weren't grooming, they weren't fidgeting around, they weren't restless. When they stopped eating, they started moving around more. They became more restless. And they even self-reported that they wanted to eat and drink when they weren't winning, and they wanted to move around when they were bored. So here's this kind of evidence that there's this suppressive effect of consumption on behaviors associated with leaving, which could be why we saw that gambling persistence earlier. And really identifying the factors that might be involved in gambling persistence and development of problem gambling could lead us to more effective intervention and prevention of problem gambling. Ultimately, leaving the factors unknown in the development of problem gambling is a gamble we shouldn't be willing to take. Thank you.